So I opened a post box where you put the milk and the newspaper in the post in Rushall, and when I opened this box to put a pint of milk in, I was doing the milk grind over at Devour and Rushall at the time, that let the genie out of the bottle. That let the genie out of the box. Because not long after that, I lost my job on the milk ground. I've been doing milk grounds for 12 years. I lost my job driving coaches at Simon's Coaches. I lost my 4-bedroom house, all because I opened that box that day. So what was in this box? That let the genie out of the box, and was the start of the big monster disc serial killer frame. And what was in there was a Guardian newspaper. And there was a story where 17 nuns had just been hacked to death by 50 youths with machetes in Rwanda. And Rwanda was not that far from Kisumu, Kenya, where my mother also had a children's home. And my mother had phoned me just prior to this. And Jaffa and his Yardie gang were in their late 20s, had threatened to burn her alive in her car the next time they saw her. So a real evil saw trap. And I had read in a Sun newspaper where a Yardie gang in London had got a woman and burnt her with a hot cloves iron on her body and her face to find out where her drugs and drug money was. And also just prior to this, I'd lost a good friend, Philip Hewitt, who used to work with my mum at the nunnery in Dis. And he'd come round on the Wednesday, and the following Saturday evening his car overturned in Roydon. He was trapped in the seatbelt and that caught fire. So I had prayed, Lord, do you want me to go? And my mother had also said to me that Johnny, we've also got headless bodies coming down the river from Rwanda. And there were mass graves in Rwanda that you could put the population of Dis into. And people hiding in mass graves to avoid being massacred. People dancing with fiendish delight in their victims' blood, so real bloodlust. And that would be like from here to Wales, from where my mother was. So when I saw that 17 nuns had been hacked to death, nuns, you can't get a softer target than nuns. I'd been praying, Lord, do you want me to go and stand in the gap? And then, shortly after this, just went up the road a bit, and I was following a Ford tractor with a spreader on, and behind that was a butcher's van. So I said, okay, Lord, you've got my attention now. Because Ford Kenya was the opposition party to the Kenyan government, and their stronghold was Kisumu. And there'd been a lot of trouble in Kisumu. I'd been in Kisumu under curfew, mobs on the rampage, pitch black, people being shot on the streets. I'd stood with Ambrose not far from huts that were burnt down with the families in, or were massacred, as they tried to flee for their lives. So, like I said, I had prayed wherever I should go. So I thought, right, Lord, you got my attention now, A Ford tractor, Ford Kenya, a spreader, the trouble is spreading, and people are certainly being butchered. And then when I pulled out on the road, the main Norwich Ipswich road, the first vehicle that passed was an employment agency van, and written in big letters down the side of the van was the word urgent. And like I say, I know from my experience, travelled the world and the streets and so forth, that one youth with a knife, one youth with a gun, one gang with fire, acid, you get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, it can be fatal. So now I had a real witness in my spirit. God was confirming that I was to go, stand in the gap, and to go urgently. A genuine emergency, a race against time, not one penny from anybody. So when I got in, I saw Graham Kingfisher, so I'm going to take some time off. I need to go to Africa. And when I got in, I booked the flight, and the first flight I could get was on the Sunday. So, but this started the big monster disc serial killer frame, because this post office, and I lived opposite in Victoria Road, 55 Victoria Road, which was never This post office, 25 Cromwell Street. No bodies bricked into the walls, under the floors, or buried in the garden, where I was running a hostel for homeless young men, which was my Christian calling. Now this post office, this Christian community church, which is Hope Church now, in this, the Roy Lincoln lawyer, the Newberrys, Jonathan Burr and Co., Harris, Mr. Rush, Now they all had a very different take on why I'd gone to Africa. Like I say, it was a genuine emergency, life or death situation, a race against time, not one single penny from anybody. But they claimed that my going was a hoax and that I was a fake. I was staying in a nice hotel, having sex with black hookers, grooming young girls, abusing children, all paid for by churches, supporting my mother's ministry in Kisumu and the people of this. And had this big false allegation been true, which it wasn't, I had Batman and Robin, Lambert and Lister on the doorstep telling me that I would be serving 18 months for a 3-year sentence, but it was just a big monster black lie. And this is the big black cornerstone that came out of Africa, big Rackham's cornerstone, that 7 monster serial killer lies are built on: Africa, Dis, Norwich and Sandringham, which is one big monster black bluff that Dis Council, Norfolk Bacon SS, all their spies, cronies and informers, Royal Mail postie assassins, vigilantes, postie mayor, Shay Fraternal Burston, Dr. Death Silver Bullet Whom, this parish Fields Not So Healthy Centre. This is their big monster black bluff, full of porcupine serial killer lies that they want everyone to believe is true, though never the case 39 on all accounts. So like I say, you can just open a box one day and the genie comes out, and your whole life can change. You might get a phone call, you might open a letter, you might open a box and there might be something in it that will change the whole course and direction of your life. The genie will be released from the box, from the bottle, from the letter, from the phone call, and everything in your life will change from that moment on. And I have spoke before, every frame fixed assassination always has a starting point. No matter how long, how deep, how dark, how black the frame fixed assassination goes, and what monster black lies gets mixed into the black fix, in the big disc black box frame fixed assassination. So anyhow, God bless, take care, keep safe, keep sweet, and we'll speak again soon. Bye.